Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I have got one interesting video planned for you guys. I'm not gonna lie to you, I didn't think I was gonna be doing this video like anytime soon, but God has a funny way of making you do things when you really don't want to do things like anytime soon. Just a brief story. So like I would say about a week and a half ago, I was staying up late. My sleep schedule's been super messed up because of quarantine. And I was staying up late. It was like 3 in the morning. I couldn't sleep. And I just had a moment with God where he just started to bring to me like all the things that I had been through. And sometimes I think as Christians, we don't really talk enough about the things that God has brought us through because we're so afraid of opening up about those things. So he just started to remind me of everything that he's brought me through, because sometimes, honestly, sometimes I forget. And I just started bawling in bed, and I talked to my mom about it the next day, and I was crying at her on the phone, and I was like, I just started thinking about all these things that God has done for me. And before that really happened, it was like I had this thought, like, you probably need to do your testimony at some point, because I had seen all these Christian YouTubers that had done theirs, and I'm like, someone's gonna end up asking me to do my testimony, and I didn't want to do it anytime soon. And there were multiple reasons for that. Sometimes it's hard to be vulnerable, especially in front of a camera. So it's hard to be vulnerable, and then I don't know, just like talking about it is just really weird, especially when you're talking about it in front of a camera. That's really, really weird. So I had to really give it to God, and I had to pray about it because I felt so nervous. But I watched different testimonies, and that really encouraged me, because it's like, I don't know, this might change someone's life. This might bring someone to God. So I had to set my feelings aside so that I could glorify God and really get this video out there. And a lot of my friends only know like bits and pieces about my testimony. They don't know the whole entire thing. I can't even capture the whole thing in the video, even if I wanted to. But I'm just going to share with you guys what I can. And if you are encouraged by this, or if you have any questions, just feel free to leave them in the comments for me. But I pray that this really encourages you guys. Okay, so just want to give you guys a little bit of a backstory on my life so that you're not confused. I grew up as a Jehovah's Witness. My parents were, I would say overall, had a really good childhood. Like, my parents did a really good job taking care of me. I am the youngest, and then my brother is the oldest, so there's only 2 of us, so we were both pretty close. And overall, I've always been closer to my mom. Like, me and my dad have had good moments, and the moments have been good, I would say, when I was younger and all of that. But other than that, like, my mom, she is the one who mainly provided for us spiritually. She was the one who would encourage us to pray. And growing up as a Jehovah's Witness, she would be the main one who would get us to what they call the hall, which is basically their church or place of worship. So my mom is literally like my rock. Even to this day, if you see how we are extremely close, and me and my dad are not really close. So growing up, I lived in tons of different, well, I don't want to say tons, but I lived in different cities. And for the most part, I would like to say I grew up in Bloomington, Illinois, because I think that we were there for a couple years, and I felt pretty comfortable there as well. But we did end up moving because we wanted to be closer to where my dad was, closer to where he worked, because he would travel and, sometimes would be gone for, days doing his job. So we eventually moved to Shorewood, and we've lived in different places like in that area. But everything was going okay with my parents, and then up until about the age of 12, I started to notice that my parents were having issues. Me and my brother both noticed that they were having issues, and this was really hard for me because of the fact that when I was younger, I remember seeing like my friends, their parents would be getting divorced, and I remember saying to my mom, like, oh, you and dad are never getting divorced, right? And she promised me they were never getting divorced. So to hear that, and then, years later, like tons of years later, you're hearing your parents arguing, you're starting to see they're having like real issues. That's a really big deal and like game changer for me. So I would say 2011 to 2014 was definitely some of the hardest years of my life, because me and my brother, we saw things that we never thought we would see with our parents arguing. So that was really rough. My mom ended up having a mini stroke, and there was also one time too, and I'll never forget this time, where one day I was sleeping in my parents' room. I was younger at that time. I was probably like 13 or something like that. So I was sleeping in my parents' room, and they were out of the room, and it was like during the day, and I heard them arguing, and I wasn't gonna go say anything because I didn't want to be rude and interfere. But when they were arguing, I heard the sound of like someone falling to the floor, so I immediately rushed out of the room, and then I saw my mom was laying on the floor. So my dad had to call 911, and the paramedics had to come get her, and my dad's crying, me and my brother crying, and I remember seeing my mom just like laying there, and she was looking just really sad. Like, I'll never forget the way she looked, and I just remember just like bawling when I saw her like that. And my mom, let me see, I think after her stroke, actually, she had to close down her purse store. She had her own purse store that she really loved, and she did a great job running it. So she just went through a lot, and with my parents going back and forth with the arguing and the things that we had went through, I remember one time I had told my aunt, who's on my mom's side of the family, like, if something happens to my mom, I don't know if I'd want to live anymore. And it's crazy to think about that now, because now I would not feel like that, because I'm so close to God, and I know that God would take care of me. But back then, my thought process was, if my mom's not going to be around, then who's really going to take care of me? Because there was really nobody that I connected with, like how I connect with my mom. So I was just like, if she's not going to be here, I don't want to be here either. So but I ended up telling my mom, which is a really good thing, because at the end of the day, like, if you were ever having those kind of thoughts, like, your parents need to know about that. So I'm grateful she told my mom, and my mom really was so supportive, and like supportive in a way where she really helped me with those thoughts. Like, she would say, if you ever have those thoughts, like, we're gonna pray. So she really helped me get through that, because I was crying a lot, and my parents went through a season where they were separated. So they were still married, but they were separated, and my dad was living in his father's basement. There were times where I would try to beg my dad to come home, and he would just be giving excuses, and they weren't even really like solid excuses for why he would come home. And it was just, I just faced disappointment after disappointment with my dad. So there were seasons where I would go weeks without talking to him, because it's like, you've disappointed me so much, I don't really even want to have anything to do with you. And of course that would upset him. But yeah, we went through so much. My brother, he went through a lot as well. We all had our own different challenges, and it was literally like me, my mom, my brother, we had to be like three peas in a pod. And my mom, because me and my brother were not old enough to work at that time, she was carrying a lot of the weight financially. So she's carrying us financially, spiritually, and everything, while also trying to take care of herself. So she was obviously going through a lot. At that time, she was still trying to get us to go to the Kingdom Hall, because she was trying to take care of us spiritually. I did get baptized at the age of 14, and I was pretty happy with that. I was emotional when I got baptized, because I felt like God was proud of me and everything. So I was happy about that. But because we had moved from Wilmington to Shorewood, over time I lost quite a bit of my friends. So even being at the Kingdom Hall, I just noticed that like I did not fit in, because a lot of people already had their friends, or they had their cliques. So I struggled for years not having friends and kind of feeling like something's wrong with me. And my brother, he struggled for a little while to have friends, but then after a while he got his groups, and he was constantly hanging out with his friends. And I was just struggling for a while. So it was literally like me and my mom were both struggling to find friends. And we went through seasons where we were just not very motivated to go to the hall or go out in field service. And field service is basically where they go out and they talk to people about God, and they hand out their literature, just in case you guys don't know. But yeah, we went through some difficult seasons spiritually, financially, and I believe it was in 2014 that my parents tried to work it out for like the last time. And that was another rough year. Because we ended up moving 3 times in 1 year. Me, my mom, and my brother, we moved 3 different times. My parents tried to work it out one more time, and it was just not good. Like, it didn't last very long, because my dad he's kind of had an issue with being irate, and my dad's got his own kind of insecurities. So I remember there was one time, and this is another thing that I'll never forget, where for some reason my dad was throwing my mom's belongings in the garage. He was upset, and he was throwing her belongings in the garage, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on. And he's accusing my mom of something, and my mom's trying to calm him down. So while he's doing that, I go upstairs to check on my brother, and my brother's shaking, and he's just upset. I don't think he was talking at the moment, but he was just shaking, and I had never seen him like that. So I went and I told my mom and my dad, like, hey, my Steven's upstairs, and he's shaking, something's going on with him. And then they go upstairs, my dad's trying to talk to him, and then they ended up getting into a big argument, like nearly got into a fight. I'm in the middle of them crying, my eyes out, my mom's trying to break it up. So it was all just a hot mess. Like, and there's literally so many different stories about being in that specific house. My dad ended up moving out of it, and then eventually my mom, me, my brother, we ended up moving out of that house because that house had like a really demonic presence to it. Like, I remember we had 2 dogs at that time, and I think there was a couple nights where the dogs, it would be dark in the house because we're trying to rest and everything, and they would just be staring down the hallway, and we're like, what are you looking at? So we had that happen. I think my brother had seen like a shadow in the house. My mom had heard voices, so we're like, okay, we're gonna get out of here. And at that time, we didn't really know about spiritual warfare and things like that like we do right now. So yeah, we moved 3 different times that year, and then at October 2014, that is when my parents officially got their divorce. And 2015, I would say that's the time when we started trying to rebuild our lives. I think my brother started working, so that really helped financially. I didn't start working until 2016 when I was 17 years old. I got a job at a movie theater. But yeah, God literally, he had to help us rebuild our lives because we had been through so much. And if you would have told me when I was younger, like your parents would have been divorced, I definitely would not have believed you, because it was something that I never would have imagined. I don't think that anyone wants to see their parents broken up, but it's something that's happened. But I'm very grateful for my life right now and for what God has done for me, because that is something I had like the hardest time getting over, and God has really helped restore me and heal my broken heart. And even still, like with dealing with the things with my dad. Like my dad, he has apologized for things that he's done, but we're still not very close. I'm very close to my mom. So I face a lot of disappointment with him, and that definitely hits home for me because I know there's a lot of people that I have met and that I have talked to, and they're having some kind of issues with their dads. Maybe their dad is no longer here on earth. Maybe they're not close to their dad. Maybe their dad's not in their life. And I just wanted to share some scriptures with you guys that really hit home for me. The scriptures that I've got for you guys is Psalms 27:10. For my father and my mother have forsaken me, but the Lord will take me in. And Psalm 68:5, which says he's a father to the fatherless. And I chose those scriptures because something that some people don't know about God is that he will literally become whatever you need him to be. So sometimes we get so stressed out about our physical dads here on earth that we forget we've got a heavenly father that cares so much about us. And if you are missing that father in your life, if you don't have that relationship with him, like God will literally step in and be whatever you need him to be in your life. And this is something that I've learned to appreciate even more, because back then I didn't really fully get that, but now I get it, and I've received the love that God has for me, and I've received him as my father. And now I'm not so stressed about, me and my dad don't get that relationship that I fully want. Or, I appreciate more so the father figures that God has put in my life, because that's another thing. Not only will he become your father, he will also put father figures in your life. So it's like, you just have to make yourself available to receive that support that he has for you, because he loves you and he wants to be there for you. So you don't have to be broken and you don't have to be sad, because God is just waiting for you to call on him and to receive that fatherly love that he has for you. So those scriptures really encourage me. I pray that encourages you guys. And I could literally talk all day. Like, there is so many different things that have happened in my life, and I'm very, very pumped. Y'all are probably gonna see that I'm gonna be more energetic in the next video, but I am just so excited about the next video, because in the next one I'm talking about my journey from being a Jehovah's Witness to just becoming a Christian, and it is very exciting. So I pray that you are encouraged by this video. If this video has encouraged you, feel free to share it with a friend. Or if you have any questions for me, feel free to leave them in the comments or even send me an email. And that's pretty much it. But I'm going to see you guys in the next video. Please remember that you are loved and treasured by God. And I will see you guys later, all right? Bye.